All right, welcome to our level 1 elbows and wrist class. Today we got Damien with us as the dummy to help us out. For today's class, we won't need much. We'll need a yoga block and we'll need maybe a couple tennis balls. Not 100% necessary, but it will help out a little bit. All right. In regards to our base positions, we'll be spending most of it in the short kneeling position. Unless you have bad knees or hips, you can do this one standing or seated. And then we're going to be mostly in our side laying position for the training today. So let's begin. And like always, we'll usually start with our CARs. So we're going to grab a couple tennis balls and we're going to start with our elbow CARs as this warm up. Now with the elbow CARs, because this is training, we want to give it a little bit of a training input. So we want this stuff maybe around 60 to 70% in regards to tension. What he's going to do is he's going to irradiate. And he's going to take those elbows nice and tight into the side here. Now, with these CARs, what makes them controlled articular rotations is always a fight for rotation. So what he's going to do is he's going to squeeze the tennis ball 6 out of 10. And then as he's coming out, he's going to continue to try to squeeze out rotation from the elbow. All right, and we're going to come up as high as you can. And then from there, you're going to rotate inwards. And then you're going to squeeze out rotation all the way down. We're going to go for 4 reps. And then from there, we're just going to keep coming. We're going to come back, so same direction. Keep squeezing out that rotation as we come up, and then you're going to rotate, come down. Now, again, with the compensations, you'll notice that sometimes the elbow will want to flare out, so just keep the elbows nice and tight. In, and then you should be feeling the squeeze and the tension in around both sides of the elbow. All right, you're going to continue to come out, rotate, back, and down. Again, we're keeping that nice 60%, that nice resistance, so it's like trying to go through something, rotate, and then he's going through something. So we have a nice active bicep and tricep going both directions. I think he's going to finish off this 1 rep, and I believe that's 4. Very nice. All right. Number 4. And then rotate. Again, squeezing the tennis ball to add that tension. So you can squeeze the tennis ball at 6 out of 10. And again, that will add irradiation all the way up the arm, will help you with that intensity. Very nice. All right, so those are your elbow CARs. For next, we're going to be doing our wrist CARs. So you're going to grab the yoga block. For this one, this will help with independence. So this will be more of a level 2 variation of your wrist CARs. So you're going to put the yoga block right in between the forearms. He's going to bend his elbows 90 degrees, just keep them right there. Now, the idea with this is we're going to isolate the wrist. So before we start, what I want you to be aware of is that in the wrist, we have 4 corners. So we got 1 corner, and we have 2 corners, all right? Those are the toughest corners to keep independent. And then we have extension, and then we have flexion. That's the 3rd and 4th corner, all right? So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to slowly link and smoothly link all 4 corners together. So we're going to go a medial deviation of the wrist, and then he's going to go right into extension, and then he's going to go into lateral deviation, and then he's going to come into flexion, all right? Nice and slow. Now, the idea with this one is to keep the palms up towards the ceiling, and you're trying to draw a nice circle with those fingertips, keeping the fingertips nice and straight. Another thing I like to think about with the wrist CARs is that you're going to have this crease on the wrist, and you're going to allow that crease to guide the rotation. All right, he's going to finish off 1 more rep, and then we're going to go the other direction for 3 or 4. All right. Good. All right. And again, we're going to come back the other way now. So we're going to go lateral deviation. He's going to go all the way down into extension. He's going to go into medial deviation, and then he's going to go into extension. Slow, there you go. So again, what we're trying to do is as much independence as possible, so I don't want to see any palms dumping over, and the yoga block should stay relatively stationary between the forearms. And we'll get another 2 reps or so here, 4 altogether. Very nice. All right, again, the trick and the key with the CARs is always full range of motion, but independent full range of motion. There's always intent behind these, so a large level of focus will really help. Very nice. So that's our CARs, and that's our warm-up for today. So what we're going to do next is we'll get you into a side laying position, and we're going to get you rolling. We'll have tennis balls on standby. All right, and the side laying position. So what we'll start with here is we're going to start with some elbow work, and we're going to work with the elbow capsule first. So the position that we're going to kind of work with is going to be elbow directly across from the shoulder. Now, in regards to the position of the shoulder, I'm not too concerned, but I do like a comfortable position, just making sure you got a little bit of pressure on the back of the shoulder. All right, now from here, what he's going to do is he's going to flex his wrist down. So he's going to get that forearm a little bit active. Now with the elbow, we're just going to do capsule CARs. Now with capsule CARs, the big focus is internal and external rotation. So he's going to add some intensity with the tennis ball. He's going to squeeze, and we're going to ramp up this intensity each rep. So first rep is going to be 25%. So you're going to do full supination or pronation. and then he's going to rotate slowly here. Now you might see the wrist and the hand moving, and you might think that's wrist, but really we're trying to get rotation here from the elbow, okay? So now he's going to up the tension to 50% on the next rep. More intensity, more squeeze, slow rotation. Again, tricky here to keep that bicep active the whole time. Now he's going to ramp it up to 75%, so more squeeze on the tennis ball, more restriction as we go side to side. And then we'll bring it back. Good. All right, we're going to up it now. 100% max effort squeeze. You're going to go slow, slow, slow. Now, as we're rolling, you should feel that tension in the bicep, tricep. You should feel that elbow rotating. Lots of shakiness and always safe. And he's going to pull that back nice and slow, slower, 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 and relax. Very nice. So that is your capsule car of your elbow. Now we're going to get used to this position, and we're going to use this next. All right, so let's hold the tennis ball and let's keep it there. We're going to keep that wrist flexed position. And what we're going to do next is look for a stretched position. So if this is more of your shortened position, we're going to rotate the elbow out to this. And that's going to be a lengthened position on the inside of the wrist and on the inside of the elbow. Okay. Now what he's going to do is he's going to take his hand and put it on top. And that's going to be a movable object. So this hand is not going anywhere. The idea is that we're going to flex this bottom arm, and we're going to slowly rotate this arm into the immovable object. All right. So it's going to be what I consider like a tie. So this guy is rotating, and this guy is stopping it from rotating. And what we should feel is some good tension on the inside of the elbow. You might feel some stuff on the inside of the wrist. And we're going to start holding that at about 50%. All right? I'm going to hold that nice tension, nice consistent tension at 50%. And then we're going to hold that for about 30 seconds. And then our next one is going to be 75%, 20 seconds. And we're going to do 2 of those. There you go. And 3, 2, 1, relax. Perfect. So that's 50%. If that was 50%, think about dialing that up a little bit more, and we're going to go 75%. So again, in a lengthened position, he's going to flex his bicep, he's going to flex his arm, and he's going to slowly rotate into the immovable object. He's going to slowly ramp up. Maybe it's 30, 40, 50, 60, 75%, and then he's going to hold that there. All right, we've got 20 seconds altogether, so about 10 more seconds. There you go. Keep flexing that bicep, thinking about where you're feeling that active tissue. In 3, 2, 1, relax. All right, we're going to do one more 20-second isometric at 75%. So again, he's going to flex tissue, slowly ramping up, and then he's going to start adding some direction with the rotation of the elbow. So he's going to rotate in and hold, and then he's going to hold at that 75%, and we got 10 more seconds here. All right, now that constant battle between, holding the tissue, thinking about where you're feeling it. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Very nice. All right, so that's your elbow pronation. That'll be pronation, lengthened tissue isometric. We call those PAILs. All right. So what we're going to do next is an elbow flexion eccentric. So what he's going to do again, he's going to keep this position, but now he's going to straighten out the wrist. And depending on if you have an easy or a hard time creating tension in your arm, if you have a hard time creating tension in the bicep, keep that tennis ball in hand. If you have an easy time, you might not need the tennis ball. If you got nails, tennis ball is always a nice one as well. All right, so what he's going to do here, he's going to put his other hand on his wrist. So we're going to start in a shortened position. We're going to create this tie sensation. So Damien's going to flex in, and he's going to push out with the top hand, and nothing is going to move. We're going to create this isometric, so nothing is going to move. And then we're going to slowly let this bottom arm loose. So this bottom arm bicep, you're going to slowly keep tension in this bicep as you slowly stretch it out. So we call this an eccentric, and it can be more like an active stretch into the bicep. All right, nice and slow. And then once he reaches end range, he's going to relax, and then he's going to reset. He's going to flex his bicep, create some tension, create a tie sensation, and then slowly let this bottom arm loose. We're going to go for 4 eccentrics. Good. Now again, you should feel, active tissue in the bicep. There should be a little bit of shakiness, and always keeping in mind no pain, no sharp pain especially. There you go. We'll go 2 more. Good tension. Add that irradiation and then slowly feel that active stretch. There you go. Big stretch into that bicep. There you go. And then again, if you have a hard time creating tension, you will find it will be harder to create tension when your arm is in a lengthened position. But if you ever have a hard time creating tension in the bicep, just squeeze the tennis ball a little harder. There you go. We got 1 more here. Nice slow stretch. I'm always looking for about 5 to 10 seconds with the eccentric. But again, what's most important is always the tissue. So making sure you're feeling that stretch. All right. That's it for the elbow. We're going to finish off a little bit of wrist work here. So what we're going to do is just some extension and flexion in the wrist. So again, he's just going to hold his forearm position just to prevent that from moving, give you a little bit of ownership over the wrist. And then we're going to keep the fingertips straight the whole time. All right? Not quite yet. We're going to do back and forth, and then we'll extension. So then from here, what he's going to do is take the back of his wrist, and he's going to open up his palm towards the ceiling. He's going to pull that tissue back, and we're going to hold for 5 seconds at around 75%. Fingers nice and straight, pulling back with that forearm. All right? And then we're going to fold back over this way, again, creating wrist flexion, keeping the fingertips straight, hold 5 seconds, 75%. We got 5 reps here. All right? And then we're going to go back, open up that palm, slow. There you go, 5 seconds. So again, if I were to try to push up on the back of his hand, he should be trying to push that back of the hand through my hand. And then we're going to go back the other way. Again, trying to get that flat part of the hand towards the floor. Again, through my hand. All right, we're going to go 2 more back. Fingertips straight, trying to get those fingernails right to the floor. Crease right in the back of the wrist. More than that, let's get about 80% there if you can. And then bring it forward again into wrist flexion. There you go. And then we'll do 1 more right after this. Back out. Let's make this a good one. So again, as much effort as you can, you're going to peel that wrist back and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Fingertips straight, down, down, more. And 1 more, bring it back this way. Fingertips straight. Focus on that crease on that front part of the wrist. Crease, crease. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Relax. We're going to finish off with a nice passive stretch in the wrist here. And then we're going to switch up to the other side. So what he's going to do here now is he's going to open up his fingertips. Now, when stretching the wrist, I always find it tricky to get into the right tissue. So when we're doing wrist extension stretch, we should feel this in the meat of the forearm, all right? We shouldn't feel this into the joint, especially in the closing angle side. So we should not feel resistance here. And then you shouldn't feel a lot of a stretch here. It should be mostly here. There's going to be a little bit of tension, but make sure it's mostly here. Now, when we're stretching, I always say there's a little bit of a difference between what we find tension and your end range. So if you have really tight wrists, what's going to happen is you're going to find tension in the wrist, and then you're going to start breathing. Nice deep breath in, nice deep breath out, and then you're going to slowly sink into end range. But the idea is to relax the nervous system and sink into end range, not force it into end range. All right? And then we're just going to finish off here with this side. We're going to go another 30 seconds of just passive stretching, breathing, focusing on the stretch. And then we're going to switch it up. We'll do the other side here. There you go. Again, we're looking for that stretch. As you start to relax more, you should feel more of a line of tissue. If it starts to feel too intense, something that feels like you can't relax, then we'll back away from that stretch a little bit. We can also talk about bowing that stretch a little bit, taking some of this tissue and almost like leading with that and pushing out into this area here. So if I want more of a stretch here, he's going to push out into this area. If I want more of a stretch here, he might push out into this tissue. All right? And then we'll just finish up there and relax. Very nice. All right, so let's switch it up. We'll do all the same stuff on the other side, elbow and wrist. Very nice there, Damien. Let's do the other side. Here we go. All right, so we'll do the same thing. All right, so it gives you a nice opportunity to practice. What we'll start with here is your elbow capsule CARs. All right, so he's going to create some tension. We're going to up the tension every rep. So what he's going to do is start at 25%, gripping the ball, what feels like 2.5 out of 10, and flexing the bicep, and then creating this internal resistance as he's rolling. Now again, 2.5 out of 10, nice and easy, slowly back and forth, focus on the elbow. And then we're going to up the tension 50%. So again, you're going to squeeze that tennis ball a little harder. You're going to squeeze that bicep a little harder. and then you're going to create more of that internal struggle. Slow, there you go, and then back out. And you'll notice that sometimes you'll lose some tension in the bicep, but just try to get that back. Now let's up that a little bit more. All right, we got 75%, slow squeeze. There you go, more tension. 75% is usually when I start making a face. Start adding some tension to that, a little more shakiness through the tissue. All right, and our last one, we got 100%. We're gonna max out, safe effort, squeeze that tennis ball as hard as you can, make an indent of that tennis ball, squeeze that bicep, and as much struggle as you can make into your elbow. Slower, slower, more struggle. There you go, always pain-free. There you go, and relax. Very nice. So that's the Elbow Capsule CARs that just focuses on the supination and pronation, the internal and external rotation of the elbow. So now what he's going to do is get into a stretched position. So the stretched position, again, if we're doing that capsule CAR, the stretched position is where that hand is facing away from the face. And then you're going to put the immovable object to hold the position. And then what he's going to do is start to flex, slowly ramp up, and he's going to rotate into the immovable object. Now, when I say rotate, I want to rotate from the elbow. So the elbow is rotating, not the wrist, although you will feel some tension in the wrist, all right? So the first one is 30 seconds at about 50%. Just get to know the tissue. We get to focus on that stuff. Get to know the right tissue, make sure it feels good. Again, on the inside of the elbow, some of that deep stuff. If you have some tendinitis, you will feel this one in a very intense way. So if it feels too intense, you can always back away just a little bit. All right, we'll go 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, so from there, we're going to up the intensity a little bit to 75%, and we're going to do 2 20-second holds. All right, so we're going to come in, we're going to slowly ramp up that intensity. So we start 25, 50, then we go 75%, flex, and then we rotate into the immovable object. And what he's trying to find is just a little bit more tissue on that elbow, and then squeeze. And then we got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slow relax. We'll take a little rest, and then we'll do one more. So again, in that position, we're going to flex the bicep, and then we're going to take that inside of the hand wrist, and we're going to rotate into the immovable object. Here we go, slowly ramping up to 75%, and we're holding another 10 seconds. Here we go. Squeeze, squeeze. And relax. Very nice. So that is your lengthened tissue isometric on your elbow rotators. What we're going to do next is a eccentric on the elbow. Almost looked like the calf cramped up there. All right, we're going to create some tension, flex the bicep. The hand on top is again going to create this tie sensation. So again, this top arm is going to try to push out into this wrist, and we're going to create this resistance. And then we're going to slowly let this bottom arm loose, creating this active stretch sensation until you get into full extension. Slow, slow, and then you get as far as your elbow will allow. And then once you're there, you relax, back up. We set that position again, we flex, we create that resistance, and then that slow stretch. All right, we're going to go 4 reps all together, and we're looking for that 5 to 10 second eccentric. There we go. And then reset, flex, create that tension, and then slow resistance. Depending on how you're feeling, you can create a good chunk of resistance, something that maybe feels like 80%. There you go. The important thing is that we're feeling that bicep and maybe the close to the elbow stuff, feeling that stretch. And we've got one more for that 4th rep. There you go. Perfect. All right, so that's your elbow flexion eccentric. So what we'll do next is we're going to work with the wrist. So we'll take the hand, we'll put that on the forearm just to keep it nice and independent. We're going to keep the fingertips straight the whole time. We're going to go 4 5-second holds in each direction. Let's look at some high intensity 80% holds. So again, keeping those fingertips straight, we're going to fold over and crease with the back of the wrist, and we're going to hold. You can tell Damien's wrist extension needs a little work, but that's okay. Hold, and back the other way. We go into wrist flexion. Fingertips straight, top of the fingertips towards the floor. Hold, 2, 1, Other way, slow. There you go, feel that crease, and then fingertips straight and then down. Fingertips straight and down. Hold, 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 and then bring it back. Good. Again, the fingertips straight. These things are going to want to bend and cheat for the wrist, so keep those fingertips straight. And then we'll go 2 more back. Fingertips straight, down, and crease, crease. 2, 1, we'll come back and we'll do 1 more rep here. There you go. And fingertips straight, down. And we'll do 1 more, back out, and let's go max effort here. Let's go as much safe effort as you got. Fingertips straight, down, more than that, more, through that back of the hand, through, more, and 1 more, back over, fold over into wrist flexion, fingertips straight, down, and hold as hard as you can. 3, 2, 1, and slow relax. We're going to finish off with a nice relaxing passive stretch. So what he's going to do is fingertips straight, other hand is going to go on top. Now again, with this position, we don't want this too intense right here or right in the joint. We want to feel that in the meat of the muscle tissue in the forearm. All right, so you can fold the fingertips back and you can kind of push out through here just to find that stretch. Again, you can find that lengthened position where you start to feel tension. Start breathing, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and then sink into end range. We have 2 goals when it comes down to passive stretching. It's to relax the nervous system and then slowly sink into a stretch that you feel a nice line of tissue, wherever that line of tissue is. All right? We're going to finish off with another 30 seconds here of passive stretching, and we'll finish the class there for today. All right, nice deep breath in, nice deep breath out. There we go. We got another 10 seconds here with that breathing. So again, with that stretch, as you start to breathe out more, you'll notice that you might be able to sink into that stretch more. If you're getting a lot of resistance, again, just sit where you feel comfortable, just as long as you feel that stretch on that forearm. All right, we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that will be it for that passive stretch. Very nice. If you felt comfortable with that passive stretch, you can keep holding. All right, so that's our class for today. Thanks for joining us for the elbows and wrists level 1 class.